Welcome! This is Doc Marty with Mental Wellness. We are brought to you through our internet connection through KAIR in Humble, Texas. And Bob and Linda Robertson, the owners, have graciously allowed me to occupy the air for a little bit. And thanking John for all his technical help as well. And we continue to have our interesting political debates. In any event, we are going to spend some time responding to some of the emails that have come in since our last show. As you may recall, we have been spending the last couple of programs talking about the effect of the coronavirus, not so much about the physical aspects of it, because I'm not an MD doctor. My PhD is in counseling psychology, and what I am able to talk about is the stress and how people are reacting emotionally to what is happening. And to a large degree, what we're responding to is fear and a message that somehow we are not in control of what's going on here, even though we seem to get a continual barrage of contradictory information about what is happening, what's not happening, how to prevent it, how not to prevent it, as well as other things that we can and should be doing. So what we're going to do is to see if we can open up the forum a little bit differently than what we've done before, because rather than me talking simply about what's happening to people and how they're reacting to it, since you already know how you're reacting to it, hopefully, what we are going to talk about is how to get past it so we can start interjecting some normalcy again into people's lives, as well as to create a much more peaceful way of mitigating through what otherwise could be a very, very confusing, if not altering kind of experience for us. So that's going to be the essence of what we're going to deal with today, and my apologies to the folks that have been waiting for the last 3 weeks for us to start talking about relationships, which is a topic that is very dear and near to my heart, and also something that means a great deal to a lot of people. So I do promise that we will get to the issue of relationships, and we're talking about all kinds of relationships. But more importantly, I think we need to stay with what's topical, as well as the kind of things that we can be doing to get ahead of it, which seems to be a cry that we are hearing from lots of people. So instead of just reacting, we're actually able to get ahead. So that's going to be the essence of our show. And I'm going to start with the emails that have come in, which I'm so grateful to be receiving, because it's an indication that people are actually listening to the program and curious enough to ask questions, which hopefully I can address. I'm not promising I can answer them as best as everybody might like, but at least I can add a little bit of expertise into what it is that people are dealing with from the emotional end of it. So the question that came in from a couple of different listeners is relating to how do I create a meditation for myself. One of the gals said that she's very religious, and in her church, meditation is not something that is encouraged a great deal as much as it is prayer, and wanting to know what the difference is between the two. What I can tell you is that for the most part, if you are practicing a meditation, you are going deep inside of your own mind to try to find a balance of energy and being able to relate to that energy in a way that you find useful and helpful, and bringing your mind and your body at peace so that the energy that circulates is a peaceful kind of energy. Oftentimes in prayer, what we are doing is asking God for some kind of help. And in essence, what we're doing is creating more of a dependency kind of relationship, wanting God to take care of the problems for us, somehow believing that if we pray hard enough, we will get it, what we are asking for. And yet we do know that a lot of times that when you're more self-centering on what you're asking God for, you're more likely not to get those prayers answered, simply because we'd be praying for winning lottery numbers and all kinds of other things for ourselves to help us feel better without any consideration of what that may actually mean, as opposed to really focusing in on the depth of who we are as people, so we are spiritually connecting with the other things, the other objects, as well as God, on a deeper kind of level. So the issue of the meditation really becomes one of focus. And when you're able to focus deeply inside of yourself, there is that awakening of the energy that flows through us. And whether it's the practice of like yoga, where folks from India have been doing this for thousands of years, moving the chakra energy in a way that allows that sense of balance and goodness to rise from within and then release into the universe, or whether you're following the qi, which is the Chinese focus of internal energy. Either of those two messaging processes both go far beneath the essence of superficial kind of opening and allows a depth to emerge, which can in fact lower down all kinds of physiological reactions, including stress, as well as to create a more balanced sense of biology so that things tend to follow in an equilibrium that allows for that balancing to continue even after we're done with the meditation. So what we're looking at is really a process of prioritizing. Is it more important for us to be balanced inside so that we can then go forward and make better decisions for ourselves and the people around us? Or do we simply want to be able to just plunge ahead and do things which we think might be good for us, and recognizing the fact that sometimes when we are in a high-stressed area, thinking is not exactly the most tuned-in way of addressing what those issues are, because the absence of how we feel, the absence of how we have experienced similar kind of frightful situations in the past, tend not to be a primal integrating force within us. So we are left basically just scrounging for answers, and that creates panic. So hopefully that addresses the email that came in. The other emails that seem to have a similar kind of question to them dealt with the process of going through that hierarchy that I presented last time, how people go from being aware of a situation to it building into a negative direction of going into concern and then fear, scariness, and ultimately getting into a panic state. And recognizing that that is what we refer to as a hierarchy, meaning that you go step by step by step, it escalates into a greater sense of being out of control. And that is an emotional state. The thinking process tends to get weaker and weaker as we go through higher up into that hierarchy, to the point where we're not capable of thinking straight anymore because we're consumed by the fear. And then the fear, of course, can lead into a panic state, which then renders us almost totally incapable of responding to anything external to ourselves because our brain is going into an overdrive situation of self-protection. And that's rarely a good way to deal with anything that we need to be able to address and respond to effectively. So that was where the hierarchy was going. And the part we're going to spend more time with than just identifying and labeling things, we're going to talk about how do we actually balance this stuff out. Because we can do this. It is absolutely amazing to me how when we're presented with situations of crisis, there is a percentage of people, and I don't dare give you the actual numbers on it, I think it'll scare too many people, but there's a percentage of people who remain calm. They understand that this situation is going to lead to some level of improved understanding and something that we can benefit from, and we are taking it into the future in a way that becomes healthy. So we don't make the same mistakes over and over again, and we have to remain calm in this current experience, and then we try to spread that to other people. There's also a much greater population that becomes very, very worried about it and are looking for leadership outside of ourselves in order to give us direction, thinking that somehow other people's perceptions, awarenesses, attitudes is better than ours. And when it comes to factual material, that may be the case. However, most of us are not dealing with the science of what's presently going on. What we are dealing with is the reaction to it and what it may mean. So we're not actually focusing on the factual material probably near as much as we should be, because the fear of it is overriding our common sensibility. So when we talk about being in control, we're not talking about thinking. We're talking about experiencing this thing and maintaining balance. And this is the balance between how we think, how we feel, what our spirituality represents, and how we move forward in a way that feels safe and feels protected. And yet we're able to also extend that to other people, because one of the greatest services we can provide other people is helping them to remain calm in a crisis state as well. So as we move through the program, we're going to identify more and more different tools that people can actually employ, since that seems to be the ponderance of emails that have been coming in, is more how do we help with the tools? How do we provide people with the skill set that they need to actually handle the situation effectively for themselves as well as for their children, for siblings, for partners, for even parents, aging parents, as well as provide just a little bit of factual material, so maybe that will also help to curb some of the overreaction and panic. So we're going to be taking a break very soon, and when we come back, I'm going to give you the contact information, so if people want to reach out to me, they're certainly more than welcome to do that. In fact, you are always welcome to do that, whether it be by email, which is the most direct way of getting me on for the program, but also reaching me through the business phone lines and through our website, and allowing us to be able to communicate one-to-one if that is something that you are desiring to do. So we're going to take the break now, and when we come back, we're going to move forward with some very, very hopeful and useful tools for getting through the virus. This is Doc Marty with Mental Wellness, and I am welcoming you back to our program. I'm going to give you our contact information, so if you have been diligent about running and grabbing paper and pencil or pulling out your cell phone so you can use your notes to record in the information to reach out to me, I'm going to give you that information now. And strongly encourage you to reach to me and share comments, questions. Photographs are cool too, but just be aware of the fact that sometimes better photographs are better than others. In any event, the way to reach me by email is through docmarty, which is DOCMARTY 61 at gmail.com. Again, docmarty, DOCMARTY 61 at gmail.com. And the website address is www.alliedmentalhealthtx.com. It's Allied, A-L-L-I-E-D, mental, M-E-N-T-A-L, health, H-E-A-L-T-H, TX for Texas.com. That puts you to the website, which will also open up all kinds of information. My biographical stuff is in there, as well as the different kind of programs that we put together. The teaching classes. I've got a new hypnosis certification program that will be starting up next month, and it's 150 hours. Well, it's 100 hours of actual instruction, and another 50 hours of reading and supervision stuff, which will allow people to become certified as clinical professional hypnotists, which is not the stage stuff. It's the stuff where you actually help people overcome problems. And the fascinating part about teaching the class is that I actually love the way people respond to the class and become very, very good at helping other people work through their situations and conflicts, as well as improving people's lives. So that's a class that's coming up. There's another one that'll be coming up the end of July, which deals with couples, and I also do couples work, marriage counseling work, which is part of the training that I've had. So that's a little bit about what's on the website. There's also a way to purchase recordings, which used to be old CDs that help people sleep better and lose weight and manage to deal with stress and build confidence, and those things are available online too. Finally, the other way to reach out to me is directly by phone, which I take calls. My office manager Valerie is always helpful with people who have questions as well, and the phone number to reach us in Texas is 281-812-3322. It's 281-812-3322, and we are always welcoming calls that come in, either scheduled appointments or just for general information about mental wellness, about hypnotherapy, as well as the different kinds of services and classes that we offer. Okay, so that's contact information. Moving back into the issue of tools for helping people getting through this very, very difficult time right now. The most obvious way to do this is by relaxing, which is a word that gets thrown out anytime people seem to be stressed. And yet, unless you actually know how to relax, which a lot of people really don't know, they think they may do, but they don't, it really creates more conflict, because things that we typically think about when we ask people, how do you relax, we get things like, well, I hit happy hour, or I go binge watch TV on the weekends, or I start reading a really good novel about the Civil War or some other biographical kind of thing that might be available, or I sign up and take a class at the university or at the community college, or I spend a lot of time on my cell phone and reaching out to all my friends on Facebook or whatever social media they may be contacting. And believe it or not, none of those things are actually effective relaxing tools, simply because they're over-engaging the brain. And the key to relaxing is not to engage the brain, it's to put it at peace. So rather than opening it up to stimulate your mind, what we're talking about with relaxation is closing it down so that you can actually achieve a state of calmness, peacefulness. We do that by listening to music, soft music, not the kind of music where you're going to bang your head against walls, but the kind of music that allows your mind to actually release tension rather than taking more on. We also can achieve relaxation by meditation, as we previously talked about. We have tons and tons of research now that supports self-hypnosis as being a very effective tool for people to be able to release external tension, as well as to allow the mind to get out of the cognitive part, which is the thinking part, and into the intuitive part, which is where the balancing takes place. So we've got plenty of information about that. and it's also an extremely effective tool for creating a state of relaxation. In addition to that, we also know that by engaging in other things, which I'm about to mention, there are also ways of relaxing. Having a pet that you can be with, whether it's a dog or a cat or birds, horses if you have access to them on a regular kind of basis. I've seen this happen with goats, believe it or not, for folks that are out in the rural area. And we've seen it with other lesser animals, with ferrets and chinchillas and minks. If you can, domesticate them so that they can become close to you, so that you're petting them and allowing them to be close in that way. Because we know that in the research that's dealt with the issue of heart math, what we find is that when we are close to animals, we tend to take on the calmness that they represent to us, as well as them responding back to us. And we have discovered that actually dogs, as we are with them, we will actually link our heart rates together so that the beat of the heart actually begins to get in sync with with the animal, which creates a natural calming effect. We also know that the value of having those kind of animals with us when we're traveling becomes very, very important, and explains why we are moving more and more into the issue of having service animals being with us to add that comfort whenever we are feeling on edge, or if there's a history of anxiety that we don't seem to be able to manage by ourselves. So the tools that are available to us are actually accessible. They don't need to cost money necessarily. We're not talking about spending hundreds of dollars at a weekend spa, which can be a very relaxing experience, and yet it still doesn't always equip us with the ability to get back to work on Monday, or coming out of a vacation, the first day you go back and the first thing you want is a new vacation to handle your vacation, because the stress issues tend to come back very quickly. What we're looking for are things that help us manage the stress on an ongoing basis, things that we can access easily through our own minds simply by breathing, which is the primary way to trigger relaxation, and allows us to remain or to reestablish inner control. We see where the outbreaks of the virus, and not just this virus, but we're also aware that the flu virus is now picking up at a high rate of hitting people right now, because the infection is going around. What we know that encourages infections of all kinds is stress, because stress weakens the physiology of the body. It slows down the immune system from working properly, so it makes us much more vulnerable to illness in general, but specifically to things attacking us, like viruses, microbes, germs, and other things that we don't want to be a part of us. So as we become more and more stressed, what we find is that the illness tends to spread, it tends to be more pervasive, and we tend to get it over and over and over again. We can build up an immunity to one specific virus, and yet we also know that that virus can happen again and again and again if the immune system is not fully recovered, which is why the greatest group of people most likely to experience any virus, whether it's a coronavirus or whether it's a flu virus, is having a weakened immune system. The data we are now assembling that's coming out of the CDC is indicating that the highest risk pool of people are not the people over the age of 60. And that apparently was a misquoted piece of data that was coming out of China. What we're actually finding is that the people who have the highest risk factor are those who are highly stressed, and sustained stress, chronic stress, because the immune system is what gets weakened. We call it compromised, which is kind of a fancy way of saying it isn't working the way it's supposed to. And we are very susceptible to all kinds of autoimmune diseases. We're also very susceptible to things invading our bodies that normally, under healthy situations, our antiviral system, through our immune system, would fight it off and basically destroy the cells before they would invade us. Because the system is weakened, we are vulnerable. The weakest part of that system right now, as far as this virus seems to be, those affecting the bronchial passageways, which we know when people have sinus infections, when people have allergies. Those are the things that seem to be most compromised, is our ability to breathe clearly without bringing that nonsense into our bronchial tubes, which affects our sinuses as well as can get down into our lungs and then can create some major health issues. The folks that are having the hardest difficulty right now are the people with those illnesses that have not fully recovered yet, which means their immune systems have not been restored fully the way they need to be. So that is the caution that we need to be focused on, is rebuilding an immune system. And the best way to do that, apart from the vitamin C issue that Linus Paulding came up with decades ago. It really has to deal more with being relaxed, being in control emotionally of what's happening, and feeling that inner sense of connection so that it becomes a power base within us instead of a weakened base. So as we're moving through the understanding of how to apply the tools, we're going to take another break. And this time as we come back from the break, I'm going to share with you a couple of relaxing messages that you can hopefully use. And I'm going to caution folks ahead of time that if you're driving, if you're engaged in some kind of a work thing that demands your total concentration in, if you're slicing meat in a deli department, you may not want to actually do the exercises I'm telling you. But because we know the program is being rebroadcasted, again, it goes out on Wednesdays at noon, as well as on Saturdays at noon, and again at 9 o'clock at night. We also have now, miraculously and graciously, have now been informed that our podcasting system is working. And that will be up, so you'll be able to podcast through any kind of provider or any kind of platform, including iTunes and the other access points. So you'll be able to tune this in anytime you want, which again, adds more of our ability to reach out to people. And you can hear the same exercise I'm going to run through, and hopefully do it in a way that you'll already be in a calm place where you're not having to do anything except allow yourself to experience it. So we're going to take the break now, and when we come back, we will move into that. This is Doc Marty with Mental Wellness. We're saying hello to the fire engine that just went by. If you picked it up on your listening device, that's what that was. And no, our building is safe. We're not on fire. So welcoming you back again. We are going to run through an exercise. This is a relatively simple exercise for people to follow. Again, I'm asking that if you're driving your car, don't drive your car. Or if you're going to do that, don't listen to the show, which I want you to listen to the show. Listen to the content, and if you need to pull over, pull over. But see if you can save it up for the next time the show broadcasts out, which would be Wednesday at noon, or Saturday at noon, or at 9 o'clock at night. The podcasting is not quite exactly set to go. It will be within a matter of a day or two, hopefully, though, right? Yes, I'm getting a nod, yes. Good. So, all right, let us run through the simple relaxation technique, which will allow you to calm your inner sense of fear. It won't replace it unless you practice this several times. But once you get the understanding of how to do it, the confidence will build that you can, you will find yourself becoming more and more relaxed and much more able to process through information that normally might be very scary information to have to work through. So we're going to do this, and as you're listening to it, what I would ask you to do is to make sure that you're free of cell phones going off or other things that would normally disturb you. See if there's a way to kind of put those to sleep for a little bit. If you're having trouble sleeping, by the way, this is a very, very effective tool to get you back to sleep. So for those of you having problems with sleep because of the crisis that's going on as far as the virus, or just folks in general, because what I'm discovering is that lots of people have sleep problems. It's just that when this kind of event tends to go on, we have escalated sleep problems. So we're going to see if we can help that out as well. So what I need for you to do is just allow yourself to get into a very nice, calm, comfortable place. You can do this sitting down, lying down. You can even do it standing up if you want to, but I don't recommend standing. Sitting is a little bit more secure, so in case you find yourself weaving a little bit, you don't suddenly startle yourself. So once you're in a comfortable place, you're simply going to close your eyes, put your hands in your lap, and allow your body to just kind of release the tension. And we do this by taking a nice, deep, slow breath. Bringing the air in, letting it circulate freely inside, and then just gently pausing. And now releasing it out slowly. Let your lungs completely release out all the air that's inside, and then take another nice, deep, slow breath. Again, pause when you get to the lungs being completely filled, and then slowly, gently release the air out. All the way out. Now, the key to this deep breathing technique is that you do it continuously for about 2 minutes. 3 is even better, but we'll start with 2. Typically taking about 15 to 20 seconds to slowly breathe the air in and then begin to gently release it out. So we're not concerned about how many times you're going to breathe, but just for about 2, maybe 3 minutes. enough to allow your lungs to do what they naturally do, which is to bring in the oxygen, letting the oxygen move through your blood, because our muscles love oxygen, and any tension, physical tension we're experiencing, oftentimes becomes very quickly released just from infusing the muscles with the oxygen. So allow the breathing to happen naturally. And if you're dealing with something that is extremely critical or extremely upsetting to you, you're going to do this same exercise anywhere from 3 to 4 times a day. Because the more you practice it, the better you start to feel very quickly. And the goal of doing this kind of relaxation is to feel better. It's a very simple need. As you continue to breathe, you're going to begin to interject into your mind a singular message that you already know can be relaxing for you. The message can be words. It could be part of a psalm. It could be part of a prayer. It could be part of an experience that you've had with somebody else, perhaps quoting their words to you. Or it can be a visualization, something you've experienced in the past that you found very relaxing. It can be existing on a beach, just for long enough to feel that calmness, that relaxed state. It can be reaching the top of a mountain after you've been climbing it for quite a bit of time and you realize you've finally gotten to that place. It can be the result of eating an incredibly good meal. And all you want to do is kind of kick back and really savor all that you've experienced from that meal. And it can be the result of being together in a relationship where you've peaked in experience together. You've shared that moment and you're just kind of relaxing and just focusing on how good that moment was. Whatever it is that you're creating for yourself right now, whether it's from memory or whether it's from the words that you're repeating to yourself, allow yourself to be completely absorbed into that experience as you continue to breathe deeply. What you're moving yourself toward now is an inner state of peace and calmness. At some point you will realize that you're no longer thinking about or considering anything outside of yourself, including the messages that may be coming from the television set that is turned off, by the way, so that you're able to actually experience the exercise. Once you're done with the experience, give yourself permission to share it. Being around people that you love, people that you trust, people that it's okay to feel vulnerable being with, you want to share what you just experienced. That sense of peacefulness becomes almost contagious, which I dare say is a far more powerful, contagious quality than passing along a virus. What you're passing along is peacefulness through an energy of acceptance and love. And it tends to be an empowering kind of experience. We see it in how children will often respond to the people that they love. I have this image of somebody who reached out to me over the weekend and shared a moment of a very precious grandchild making the comment to her grandmother that, "I want to marry you." And the innocence of that comment representing an incredible amount of love, demonstrating that child's peacefulness in being with that caregiver, with that grandparent. Okay? That inner sense of awareness that everything's right with the world. Not that you're creating this illusion of a falsehood, but that you're allowing your mind, your body, your spirit to form that symmetry of positive balance and energy in a way that allows you not only to experience the calmness, but to begin to send it out so that others can also experience it and move themselves from that bad place to a calm place. When you practice using this kind of a tool, the value is that it's easy to do. The effect is always a positive reaction, and all it takes is practice. So we're going to close the show, and in doing so, hopefully you're breathing yourselves, bringing yourself back into full consciousness now. So you're aware that you've just given yourself a bit of a respite and can now move forward with the rest of your day or evening and feeling a little bit more in control, a little bit more at peace with yourself, and perhaps feeling a little bit better. And as we begin to close the show, imagine yourself sharing that goodness with one other person. Perhaps 2, perhaps 5, perhaps 10. Realizing the amount of influence in a positive direction you can have on helping people move forward into their lives. Well, this is Doc Marty, closing off our program for today. Again, encouraging you to send in your emails to docmarty61@gmail.com. And I will look forward to being with you next week. Wishing you a safe, healthy week, feeling in control. Signing off now.